Hi, welcome back. In the previous episode, what we have done is we have implemented the confirmation box using the Bootstrap component. So our application is almost complete. So in this episode, what we will be doing is we'll be deploying our application uh, to Firebase hosting. But before we do that, we need to tidy our application. Okay, so let's start. As usual, we'll create a new branch. Okay, so let's check branch. So we are on part 15 branch, and then I'll change uh, into my source into my front end directory. And let me start that. Okay, so let's start by looking at what we need to clean up first. So one of the things that typically what we do with Angular is that if you have routing, we generally add a a wildcard route. The reason is this. So let me before I do that, let me go and open up the module. Okay, so let me open up this. Okay, so these are our two routes. If we try to do this, which is okay, but if we enter any other route, which is not defined in here, we would actually get an error. So it says that the 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 router cannot match any URL segment. Okay, so to prevent this from happening, generally in most Angular application that has got generally any single page Angular application that uses routes will have a wildcard route, and the wildcard route uh, is typically implemented at the uh, at the at the root. And what we'll do is this: we'll say path, okay, and then we'll say path match, okay, the full match. So in other words, rather than having like a suffix, a prefix match, we want to match a full path. If any path that we type that doesn't match any of this, by looking at the full path, it doesn't match any of the defined path, we want to redirect to slash. Okay, so we want to redirect to root. So let's see the effect of this wildcard root. So now we type some rubbish. We notice that there are no more error, and we come back to the main page. So that's the first one. The second thing we need to clean up is there are a bit of inconsistency. So if I click on this back button, it goes back to the main page. But if I click on create and I cancel and I now click on back, it goes back to the create page. What I really want to do is that when I click on back, I want it to go back uh, to this page. And the reason is actually quite simple. Uh, Here, during one of the when I created that page, I accidentally entered the uh, wrong method. So this calling back rather than calling home. So what I'll do is this: I will just change this to home. Okay, change this to home, and then now if I go back, it's going to go back. And if I go create and I cancel and I go back, you'll go back to the main page. Okay, so that's just a small change. So the third issue that we have is this. So let me enter a bot first. Okay. Okay, so let me add one card. Okay, so now if I click on this delete, so in one of the previous episodes, we implemented the hold to delete directive. If I hold this now and notice that that is going, right? But if I were to use this application on a mobile phone, I'm going to use the mobile phone emulator on uh, on Chrome. You notice that this will not work if when I hold on to it. When I hold to it, the reason is because on mobile phone, uh, it doesn't understand the event that we have implemented. So let's have a look at what we did. that was hold to delete. So in the hold to delete, our host listener, we listen to the mouse down. Okay, mouse down only works on devices with a pointer that's using a mouse. So on mobile devices, we should use touch start and touch end. So let me go here. Touch end. Okay, so that's the same as mouse up and mouse down. Now, if I use my mobile phone now in emulation, notice that this is now working. Okay, so that's the those are the three little change that I need to make to the application. The next part I'm going to do is this. So as you can tell, the application is actually pretty ugly. So I'm going to make it look a little bit nicer. Okay, I've got some artwork. I've curated some artwork, and I'm going to add this now. Rather than having this ugly little text here, I'm going to put a uh, welcome image. So in Angular, the default place, and you can define more of these places to put your image. The default location is in asset, in the asset directory, and the asset directory is under the source, under source. So under this directory here, this location is defined in the Angular JSON file here. Okay, and you can add more location. So the default one is the asset, and this is the favorite icon, right? So anything you dump in asset can be accessed from your application, can be referenced from your application. So let me go here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the welcome image. This is the welcome image, right? So I will now add this here. I will add this into this page. This is the main page. This page. So I'll delete this. I'll use the Bootstrap Fluid Image class. Okay, and then you go asset, and then the welcome page. Okay, so that is that. Let me center that a little bit. I'm going to use the flex utility from Bootstrap. Okay, so like that, and I may want to, let's make this a little bit smaller with, let's say, with 90%. Okay, like that. The next thing I want to do is this. Instead of having this this list of this list here, what I would really want is I would want to have a nice animation here, and the location, the place to put this is here. Oops, not here. Where's this place? This is here. Okay. No, not here. Let me look. Can't remember where I put it. Yeah, it's here. Okay, so it's here. So let me delete this guy, right? So it's here. So what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use Lotte animations. So these are Lotte animations. Okay, they are not GIF files. I believe I don't really know a lot about them. I believe they are After Effects file. I just use them. So if you like this, you can click on this, right, and you can download. You can actually control them. You can download a JSON file, okay, or Lotte JSON file to actually display Lotte files. So I've downloaded one. This is the one that I'm going to use. This is the one that I'm going to use. Okay, and I've downloaded it. So let me copy the file over to my asset directory. Here, I've renamed it to click. So this is the file. So if you look at click.json, it's just this. Okay. To use the Lottie animation, what you need to do is this: you need to use a module to display this, a player to display this. For Angular, we will use this library. This library we will be using. To use this library, we need to install Lottie Web and NGX Lottie. So let's do that. I will stop the ngServe first, and then I'll go npm install what is it, Lottie Web and ngx Lottie and ngx Lottie. So give it a while for it to install. Okay, once that's installed, we can restart our application. So Angular is going to compile that in. Now, for us to use it, we need to import the module, and we're going to import it in app module. Okay, so here we need to import two things according to the documentation here. We need to import the player and also the Lottie module from ngx Lottie. So import player from Lottie Web and import from ngx Lottie Lottie module. Okay. Now we need to add the player. We need to load the module, and we need to provide the player to the module. So here, okay, we will do Lottie module for root, and then we will say, so according to this, we need to provide a player factory. So player factory is just a function. I'm going to write it like this. Okay, so you just return. So this player. Okay, so this one is this player. So we have loaded the Lottie module. Now to use it, we are going to display it here. Okay, so we're going to delete this and display it here. So we need to import, we need to provide some parameters before we use the display the animation. We need to say where is the location of the animation. Okay, okay, and we do that by importing the animation option, and then specifying the option, and then use attribute binding to bind it to the ngLottie element. This is the main component, and we will import the Lottie animation, ngx Lottie, and then animation options. Now we will provide a member called options, which is of type animation option. And here we will just provide the path, and then we'll say assets, and we'll say click. Now we will use the options to say it here, specify it here. We delete this and we just say ng, what was it called? What was the element called? ngLottie and the animations. Okay. Options, so we will do attribute binding to options. Okay. Like that. So let's go back and have a look. So now we have our animation. Let's use flex to center this guy, and it's the same as the welcome. We'll go deflex, just define content center. Okay. What we want to do is this: when we click on this, it will bring us to the to the page before, to the list of our bots. So we will use the router link directive, and then we just say kbot. So if you remember, kbot is this module. Kbot is this path, right? So we go to the kbot module. Now when we click on this, oops. So now what happened? Router link. Okay. Wow. Okay. So router link. Let me just reload this thing. Okay, Chrome hung. So let me just kill Chrome and start again. Okay, let me just kill Chrome and start again. Chrome. Okay, so now if we click on this, you'll go to this. I'm not sure what happened just now there. I think Chrome actually hung. Let me see if there's any error. Okay, no error. So now we click on this, we'll go to that, and we'll go to the bots page, and we can go back to our animation. Okay, so everything is still working as before. And finally, one last thing, I would like to add a GitHub ribbon right up here, like this. So we're going to use the GitHub ribbon generator. There's one here. Okay, so we'll add that, a little bit of advertisement for my app, and then I'm going to add the repository here. So it's GitHub. So this is the repository. Add here. Okay, so I can use different colors, like green or what have you. I'm going to use. It says this is dark blue, but it looks more like black to me. Anyway, so let me just copy this. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the app module, app component, and I'll add it here. Okay. Right. So let's try this again. So notice that. Okay. Okay. So notice the ribbon is a bit slow. That's because it's actually loading from this Amazon bucket, S3 bucket. So let me copy this link. So let me copy this link, and what I'll do is this: I will download it into the asset directory. Okay. Oh, maybe I should just select this whole thing. Okay, so let me just do that. Okay, so let me paste this here. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Right, so this is the FogMe PNG. And then I will just change all this and just say assets. FogMe. Right, so now it's loading. It should be loading faster because it's loaded from my asset directory. Okay, so now we have finished beautifying our application. The third part that I would like to do is this: I would like to make this into a service worker. The purpose of making the service worker is two things. The first is that we will allow the application to run offline. So we're going to use the Angular CLI to help us to generate a service worker. The service worker is quite basic. It does two things. It generates a manifest to cache our application locally and all this asset locally. That's the first thing. Second thing it also does is that it also generates an application manifest to allow the application to be installed as like a as like an application, like a little icon application on your on your mobile phone. Sometimes when you visit, when you use your mobile phone to visit a web page, there's this little thing that comes out and say, add to home screen. So we want to do that as well. So two things, right? We want to make this application to be able to run offline, and secondly, we want to be able to add the application, add our this application onto the home screen of a mobile device, because we anticipate that more people are going to use our application on a mobile phone than rather than on a on a browser. Okay. uh, so we're going to use the Angular CLI. So to use the Angular CLI, this is the option to use. We'll say, let me show you the documentation first. I think this documentation. It's very simple. You just go ng add Angular PWA, right? So we're going to run this. We don't need to provide the project name because we have only one project in our application. So let's come back to here. And then I'm going to do is ng add Angular PWA, okay? Progressive Web App. So this is going to go off and add a whole bunch of things. We'll run through what are the changes the Angular application has done. The PWA, the command that we just executed, what it will do is this: it will create the following things. Okay, so you'll create the following things. You'll generate a file called ngswconfig. Okay, the service worker, and inside this file, okay, let me show it here, which is a slightly bigger window. Maybe I'll do it here. Okay, I may do it here. You generate this file. This file says what are the resource to prefetch. So it will cache our favorite icon, the index page, something called the manifest, application manifest. We'll look at this, and all the CSS and JS. Also, it will lazily cache all the files inside assets. Okay, so basically this file is used to generate the service worker. The second thing that it does, the Angular PWA command does is this: it created this file, this manifest, okay, which we are not going to use. We're going to use another tool to generate this. Okay, so it generated this, and it also added into assets a bunch of icons. So let's have a look at what it generated for us. So this bunch of icons, these Angular icons, which we do not want. Okay, right? So I'm going to delete the icons, and I'm also going to delete this web manifest. We're going to generate our own manifest. Okay. One other thing that the command does is this: it adds to the index this line to associate the manifest with our application. This line. Okay. So I may remove the theme color. Okay. So what we're going to do now is this: we're going to use a tool to generate our own manifest. So what the tool does is this: the tool will generate the manifest.json file, this file that we have just deleted, and also we'll provide a set of custom. We'll provide an image to generate a set of custom icons for us. There are quite a few online tools to do this. The one that I'm going to use is something called application manifest generator. This application manifest generator used to be the one that I use. Unfortunately, because it's hosted on it is running on Firebase, and it uses Go on the back end to actually generate the icon. So unfortunately, the application hasn't been updated. So the back end, I believe, is using Go 1.9. So if you read the documentation here, you notice that Firebase no longer supports Go 1.9 backend as for their serverless runtime. Fortunately, I found a equivalent of this. Once somebody has actually created an equivalent of this application. Okay, so let me just do this. Uh, this person, Sammy, and here, right? So it's the same application except that it is running on the back end that which generates the icon is running on Express and or GraphQL, right? So what we're going to do is this: we're going to fill in the information to generate the manifest. So this is the manifest. Okay, so I'm going to call this neat app kboard, and the short name is kboard, right? The theme color I'm going to use is a blue. I've selected the color, so it's 2196F3, right? And I'll do the same thing. Just copy this thing here. Okay, so this is the background. Afterwards, you will see when we run this, you'll see it will generate a splash screen, and then the splash screen will be blue color. And also when we view the application on the browser, the theme of the color, the background theme of the color will also be like sort of blue. Okay, the mode that we want to display this is full screen, right? Um, we're going to leave this alone, the application scope, and the start URL, we're going to say index.html, right? We will provide a picture up here. So this is the picture we're going to provide. We're just going to pick big K. And then you click on submit. And what you do is this: it will go off and generate a package and download the package. I've already pre-generated, so I won't be clicking this thing. So the package is here. So let me show you the package. Okay, I'm going to put it in source. Okay, so this the place I'm going to put it in. The package is here. Again, if you click on here, you type here, this is what is downloaded. And now we'll just have a look at the file without the package without unzipping it first. You get a bunch of images with the icon. So this icon is what we provide. And then it will also provide a manifest, right? So let's unzip this guy. Okay, so this is the manifest. Notice. Okay. And the images are here. Okay, so let's have a look at one. That's our image, right? So they are all for different sizes. Okay. So now we need to go and modify. Let me remove this one. Okay. So now we need to go and change index to use this manifest. That's the first change we need to make. Okay. Now the second thing we need to do is to tell Angular to include images and manifests as part of the build. Okay. So we will come here, right? So the assets here for this one we'll change to JSON, and then we will say besides asset also include images, the images directory, right? This directory. Now during the build, Angular will besides compiling our application into our TypeScript application into JavaScript, it will also include into the final bundle, final build, the favorite icon, everything under assets directory, everything under images directory, and this manifest JSON. Finally, one last thing that we need to do is we need to tell the Angular to use this manifest as to cache this service worker, to cache the manifest JSON. Okay. So now let's go ahead and try this. try find. Let's go ahead and get Angular to see if you have set the if you have made the changes correctly by running it and observe. We wait for it to build. Okay, so now we'll close this guy. Okay, and now if you go to applications, under applications now, if you have done it, if you have done if you have done it correctly, we will notice that we will now have a manifest. This is displaying the manifest. Okay, and these are the icons that we have used. Okay, so this is now running correctly. Okay, so this is one part. To test this, to test the actual service worker, we need to deploy the application. Okay, so what we will do is this: we will compile the application. We'll stop this guy first. So we'll build the application like this. ng build. We build it for production. So this will now generate the final JavaScript. Okay, I will pause. The build can depend. The build can take like about a minute. So what I'll do is that I'll pause the video and then I'll come back when the build is complete. Okay, the build is now complete. It took about a minute. By running that application ng build for production, what it has done is that it's created this directory, this, and inside here our application called front end. This is the final application. We can now test this out by starting an HTTP server here. Okay, and then we'll test this thing out on port 8080. So this is port 8080 now. Okay, let me just do a quick reload of this port 8080, right? And notice that here, if I click on this, you'll notice that we have a service worker that is installed. Okay, and if you look under cache, we'll see that these are the old one. It has cached some of these applications, some of these files, right? Okay. I think these are the assets. These are the images. This is the application itself. Okay, right? We can actually test if the service worker, whether service worker is working by killing the HTTP server, right? And if we try to reload this again, we notice that although the console is saying, some of these things cannot be found, but the application is actually now loaded from the cache by the service worker. Okay, right? Okay, so the service worker is working. We can try the add to home screen on our mobile phone. So I'll run an emulator. I've installed the emulator here. I've created one emulator. So I'll run this guy. Okay. Right. So I'll start this server for the emulator to access the local machine is 10 is the IP address is 10.10.0.2.2, and then the port number is 8080. Okay, so now we see our application here, right? Okay, and we can now click on here. We can see now add to home screen. Okay, and then we click on add to home screen. Sorry. Now we can kill this guy. The icon is here. So now we can click on this. So notice that the background is blue. That's from the theme. Okay, our applications works. Okay, again, we can try by killing off the server. killing off this server. Okay, and we'll run this guy, and you'll still run. Okay, the application will still run. Okay, the reason why there is actually some data inside because previously I've tested the application. Okay, so finally, one last thing before we actually deploy to uh, to Firebase, since our application is going to be used on the browser, it'll be really nice to be able to share our the URL or our application, right? So since mobile devices, since we're on a mobile phone and we like sharing, um, there is a there is an API, there is a JavaScript API that allows us to share to do a sharing. It's not I don't believe it's a standard yet, but it's supported on Chrome, and that API is called Web Share API. This is the API. Okay, this is the API. The documentations here. Uh, Not all obviously sharing is only available if you're on a mobile phone. If you're not on a mobile phone, then you cannot use this. So what you really need to do is that you really need to check if sharing is available or not through the navigator.share. So you check this. If the share function or the share function is available, then you can share, right? Otherwise, you don't share, right? So, and the way to do a sharing is like this: you just go navigator share, you provide the title, some text, and the URL, right? So we're gonna do sharing before we do the final deployment to Firebase. Also, the other thing is this: the sharing will only work over HTTPS. Okay, so that's another reason why we will have to use Firebase, because Firebase supports HTTPS. My local browser here, my local server here doesn't support HTTPS. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement sharing. What I would like to do is this: I would like to use Font Awesome icons, and then I would like to have the share icon. This is the icon I'm going to use. It's Alt Share, and Font also supports stacking. Which allows us to stack two icons together. Where's the example? Okay, like this. We want to have this little circle on top of the sharing if sharing is not enabled. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this to our page, to our view. So I'll do here. I'll go. Okay, so the sharing is FA stack, and then I'll add two buttons. Sorry, not button. Okay, not sorry. I need to add a button first. And then button, and then I'm going to put a small button, and then I will add this tag here. What was that? This is called alt share. Sorry, share alt, and then fa stack 1x. Okay. Okay, and this is going to be a band. The blue one is band, and we'll make it a bit bigger, and then we'll put the color to tomato red. So this is band. This is 2, right? And the style, the color is going to be red. Let's have a look at and see how it looks like. Let's start this again. Okay, so let's run this. 4200. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like, right? And if we don't have this line, so this one. So if we see a little red line on top, it means that we cannot share, right? So probably we are running on the desktop, right, or on some other browser that doesn't support sharing. But if we just have this, then we are allowed to share. Okay, so to make this happen, what we're going to do is this. Okay, we are going to in app component. Okay, in app component, what we'll do is this: we'll create an attribute, a member that tells us whether we can share or not. Okay, we will do this. We can share. We should return boolean. So this is a read-only attribute, and then we will say return. So if you recall from sharing, native sharing, we need to check if the navigator share it's present or not. Is it present? So navigator share, and then we will say convert this into boolean, right? And if it's and if it is, then finally we want to create a method to allow the button to be able to share. So we'll say share. I'll call this method called share it. Okay, again we just want to check. So if we cannot share, we'll just return quietly. If we can share, then we'll just say this navigator share, right? So we will say title. We will call this need app keyboard. Okay, and then finally the next one, we'll have a little bit of text. We'll say Trello clone. Okay, develop with the need stack. Put a new line, check it out, and then finally we'll just put the URL below. URL below here, and then we will just use window window location href. Okay, oh sorry, not this navigator. Okay, so that's why. Okay, just to be on the safe side, we will declare here. You say this declare var navigator any, and also Windows any. So this will prevent TypeScript from giving us an error. So we'll just say, these two comes from somewhere else, and you can ignore it. So finally, what we need to do is this: we need to take this share and we'll add it here. Okay, we'll say share it, right? So here, this one we'll just say ng if equals to not share. If it's not shared, then you display this thing. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. Okay, we'll simulate this by saying this one return true. So this is we can share. So we'll see this. Obviously, if we click this, we'll get an error, right? Because share is not available. And if this is false, we will get that little red circle thing, the band, and we will not be able to click it, right? So that's the purpose of this line. We check if the share is available, if share is present. If share is present, then we do a double bang to convert this into the Boolean type and return that. Looks like our application is complete now. So what we will do is this: we will deploy to Firebase. And so to deploy to Firebase, what Angular does is this: Angular has some integrated deployment. Okay, and it's actually pretty simple to use. All you need to do is just use the Angular command line tool to add, where do you want to deploy to. These are some of the built-in locate places where you can deploy to, right? So I've actually used Firebase hosting. I've actually used GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages is a little bit clunky. Uh, now, now used to be the service now used to be provided by Zit. Uh, Zit has actually changed their name. They are now called Vercel. So if you use now, it doesn't work. You have to use the Vercel CLI. I will do a demo on some other application later. Okay. I've not done S3 S3 Amazon S3. So what we'll do is this: we will use the Firebase hosting by just adding the Angular Fire, right? Like like that. So I'll stop this thing. We just go ng add Angular Fire. Okay. So this will install the Angular Fire as deployment. Again, I won't go into the video on on creating your Firebase project. There are a lot of videos, YouTube videos that actually does that. What you need to do is you need to go to Firebase and create a project. Go to Firebase, sign into Firebase if you don't have one, right? Sign into Firebase console and then create a project. I've got two projects. Create a project, install the CLI, log in. Okay, so you can do all those by looking at other people's videos. So I do not want to repeat this here. So while this package is installing, this can take like 1 or 2 minutes. So what I will do is this: I will pause and I'll come back when the installation is complete. Okay, the installation has complete. So once the installation has completed, Angular, the ng add Firebase will ask you, one of these two, which are the two projects. You list your projects and say, which of these two, which of the projects that you would like to, deploy to. Again, before you come here, you need to log into Firebase first. Okay, so the command is using the Firebase CLI. Firebase. You type Firebase, log in, and then follow the instructions to log in. So I'm going to select Need app. This is the Need app, and this is actually the hash, the hexadecimal. I've just used ABCDE, which is actually quite easy to remember. Okay, so now that it's done that, it's updated a few things. It has created a file called firebase.json. Okay, and you can customize this. Okay, and then it also created this file called Firebase file, which uses my project. If you are cloning this repository, make sure you change the target and the hosting. So after you've done that, we will now deploy the application by just doing this ng deploy. Very simple. Okay, before it deploys, the Firebase tool will build the front end, rebuild the application. Okay, again, I will pause and return once the build is complete. Okay, so we are in the last stage of the deployment. So now the deployment is completed, and this is the URL, the final URL. What we'll do is we will now run it on our emulator rather than on the browser. Let me kill this guy. Let me remove this, and we'll start again. So in here, let me click on here, and what I'm going to do is this: I will type HTTPS need app ABC. Okay, so go. So that's my page. Notice that the sharing is I'm able to share. So before I do that, let me just add to my home screen first. Okay, so now we can look at that, and if you click on this thing, notice that this is a sharing, right? So if I want to share, like because I don't have WhatsApp or Facebook, whatever installed here. If I've got those app installed, I should be able to see them here. So now I'm going to click on messages. It's just some number, right? So notice that this is our the text that we entered in here. Again, what is displayed here really depends on the on the app that we are sharing to. So that is the information. So notice here that we didn't have the title, but we have the text and the URL display. I will end this episode here. Is a rather a long episode, and we have done a lot of we've done a lot of things. We have cleaned up our application. We have made it beautiful. We have generated a service worker, and then finally we have deployed uh, to Firebase. I apologize. There is a middle part. There is a little hiccup with my with Chrome. Chrome is really sometimes it's really hanging. It's really freezing on my machine. I need to look at that. Okay, so we have completed this. In the next episode, the last episode of this entire season, we will look at two other forms of deployment. So in this episode, we look at deploying to Firebase. In the next episode, we're going to look at two other forms of deployment. The first one is we're going to create a Docker image of our application, right? In case you want to deploy this into a Kubernetes cluster, for example. Okay, we will not be doing Kubernetes, but we will just be building the Docker image and we'll test the image. That's the first one. The second way of deployment is we're going to use Golang to build a standalone binary. It's one binary to deploy our application. Okay, so if you're interested, do join me in the next episode. Thank you and see you then.